Good morning, gang. Happy Tuesday morning. All right, and the beat goes on. Want to talk about your money this morning and why it's not a time to get complacent. I see these people, Donald Trump's won, happy days are here again, yada, yada, yada. No, sorry, not true. And I've told you guys many times, just because I supported the man doesn't mean I'm going to give him a free pass. Whether you are a supporter or not of his plan on tariffs doesn't really matter because you don't have a say on it. So the only thing you can do is react to what's going on. And this is going to be one of those times where you're going to look at your pantry or planting your garden or buying more chickens, and you're going to go, yeah, I'm pretty damn glad I did that. Okay. A lot of talk in the media over the weekend constantly, okay. Are we dipping into a recession? Now, it was kind of funny because Trump wouldn't answer the question. And then you had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent came out and really just walking a line here. He said he's not worried at all about inflation and we're not going into a recession. Okay, that's pretty strong words to say, nope, not going to happen. I'm not convinced of it. You shouldn't be convinced of it either. Okay. You look at all the cost cutting Washington's trying to do, Doge, and all the pushback that they are getting from Democrats, unelected judges who suddenly think they're more powerful than the president. This is going to affect us. It's going to affect everybody. Employees, companies are still laying off. Obviously, the government is laying off like crazy. That's going to drive unemployment up. You have the issue with tariffs, which is going to drive prices up. I don't care what anybody says, the companies are going to pass those price hikes on to you. There's 25% tax on vehicles, tariff, okay? An $80,000 truck is now a $100,000 truck. Who the hell's paying $100,000? Who the hell's paying $80,000 for a truck? Okay, not this guy. But we all have to get ready for this and plan for this. And when Scott Bessent comes out and says, no, we're not going to have a recession, we're not going to have inflation, yet the people that know, the people that deal with your money are telling a completely different story. Look at what the markets did yesterday. The Dow was down 890 points, 2%. The S&P was down 155, 2%. The NASDAQ was down 728, 4% in a day. You hear all these people that go, I'm getting 4% on my CD or in my savings account or whatever it is. Great, you're getting that in a year. The NASDAQ lost that yesterday. Okay. This is the thing. The markets don't like what's going on. And they haven't for quite some time, basically the entire year so far. I mean, if we take a look at what's going on so far this year, let's look at this. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, year to date, down 1.5%. The S&P, 500 largest companies in the U.S., right? Down 4.5%. The NASDAQ, tech heavy, your Magnificent Seven, et cetera, down 9.5%. 0.5% more drop, and we are in correction territory, okay? Bitcoin, everybody's favorite there, down 13%, okay? And that's just year to date. I mean, if you take Bitcoin from its high that it hit in December at 108, you're talking Bitcoin's down almost 30 grand, okay? That's about 33%. Yeah, that one's painful. But what do we all do? Well, we're always worried about inflation. We're always worried about protecting our money. Gold, up 10.25%. Silver, up 11.25%. Now I'll give you this. When stock markets are down and gold and silver is up, that tells you there's basically the signs of a recession coming, or you're already in one, which we could possibly be. You look at the dollar index. The dollar is the weakest it's been since early November, down at around 103. Your money's buying less. Not like I gotta tell anybody that. That's not a big surprise. Okay. It was funny because I was telling Mrs. P yesterday, I said, we were looking over our finances, and I've mentioned to you guys before, about buying dividend-paying stocks. And I looked at Philip Morris. Granted, whether or not, Altria Group, okay, whether or not you believe in them because there's, the sin stocks, if you will, because of tobacco. I'm going, we're up 16% in this from the stuff we bought in December. And the market's tanking, okay? We can also add on an 8% dividend yield and go, okay, so far so good. Yeah, that's a good thing. You got to look at safety. You got to look at protecting yourself. I disagree with Scott Bessent. I think we are going into a recession. I think we are going to see more inflation. It may be short-lived, but it's, in my opinion, pretty damn positive that we're going to have it. Why? Because of the tariffs, because of the unemployment, because we're not pumping all this money into the economy. Let's stop and think for a second. All those government employees who didn't do anything to earn their paycheck still spent that money. They still paid rent or paid a mortgage, made car payments, bought groceries, went to Walmart, did whatever, and they spent that money into the economy. Now that money's not there, which is going to probably drive rents down, especially around Washington, D.C. It could feasibly drive prices down because if nobody's buying stuff, companies need to get it off the shelf. Oh my God, we're not selling any of this at $1. Drop the price to 75 cents and let's see if people will buy it. Yeah, I know, try to find anything you can buy for $1 right now. But that's going to hit the GDP. That's going to hit the economy. That's going to hit the stores, because now if the stores are going, we're not selling as much, we're not going to order as much to put it on the shelves, which then makes it harder for you to find what you need. And then, of course, it's just a snowball. It rolls downhill. If the stores aren't buying as much stuff, the manufacturing companies aren't going to produce as much stuff. Then, of course, you get into the tariffs on China. If China's got to pay all this extra money to ship stuff to the United States and they don't know if it's going to sell, maybe they don't send as much stuff to the United States. We're in for a painful period. I don't know how long. It could be just spring. It could be spring and summer. It could be all the year, whatever. Where prices are going to go up, where availability of goods is going to go down, and we're all going to be hanging on by fingernails going, is my job safe? This is when everything we've talked about for years, okay, and some of you guys for decades, have prepped on. This is when the cow may come home and eat the cabbage, because you may need to tap into that food storage because groceries get too expensive or groceries become unavailable. I mean, let me ask you this. How many of you have tapped into already your can of powdered eggs. I'm betting there's quite a few people that have, okay? Need eggs for baking, want eggs for breakfast, whatever it is. You know what? We'll do this rather than pay, what I pay, $8.53 for a dozen eggs? Okay. How many of you have considered buying or have bought chickens, built a chicken coop? Because it's cheaper to build the chicken coop and buy the chickens and get the chicken feed than it is to buy the freaking eggs. How many of you have talked to local farmers and made deals to get eggs or whatever? Quite a few. Now start taking that onto all sorts of other products, okay? Fortunately, we're coming into growing season, egg-laying season, if you will, too. And we can grow some of our food, but you're going to be tapping into your food reserves. The other thing you may be tapping into, and I hope to God everybody's listened and done this, you may be tapping into your emergency fund. And I'm not talking, I hope you're not tapping into it to buy a pizza on Friday night when the kids are watching a movie. You may need to tap into it to buy groceries, to pay the electric bill, because, again, companies see all this going on. You know what? Effective immediately, we're going to a 4-day work week. People go, cool, yeah, 3-day weekend. No, you're not working 4 10s, you're working 4 8s. What do you mean? Yeah, you're taking a 20% pay cut. You're only going to work 4 days. You're going to work 32 hours. Oh, by the way, that means you're now a part-time employee, so you also lose your health insurance. Okay. You could have a lot of that going on. Be prepared for all of this. The numbers are telling a completely different story than the talking heads. The talking heads in Washington, I don't care which party, will always tell you, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, we've got this under control. Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. They're always going to tell you they got it under control. Hell, we're on the verge of a government shutdown unless they get this continuing resolution passed, which, gee, will just be another one because last fall they passed one and said, oh, we'll have a budget in March. No, we don't have a budget. I can't remember the last time we had a freaking budget. It's just kicked the can down the road. It's just, well, the continuing resolution allows us to spend the same amount of money we spent last year. No, we need to spend a lot less, okay? If we start spending a lot less, that may offset the negativity of these tariffs toward our economy, because if we keep spending money we don't have, that's a driver for inflation. And inflation doesn't do any good for any of us. Not you, not me, not the country, not the world. We don't need inflation. We need to get this stuff in check. But like most of you, I'm not overly confident that they're going to be able to do it, because the ones that are trying to get it in check are the ones that benefit when it's not in check. Why would they do something against their own interests, illegal or not? That's just the mindset of a politician. They're above the law. The Epstein list's disappeared. Don't you think Nancy Pelosi's stock trading history is going to disappear if something like that ever comes up? Of course, okay? There'll be some out for them all. There ain't an out for you and me, but there's an out for them. And the ones that suffer are all of us. Ramp up your savings, ramp up your pantry while you can. I know it sucks going in the store, and you look at this, go, holy crap, what are we paying? 3 years ago we were paying this, now we're paying this. Guess what? 3 years from now, we're going to say the same thing. In 2025, we were paying this. Why in 2028 are we paying that? Prices don't come down. Simply put, it's not food, okay? It's not like technology's getting better and they're going to have a better pea. Though we talk about GMO, that's a different thing. But keep putting it back while you can now, because you don't know when you walk in the office on Friday morning what they tell you. They could do production cuts. They could do headcount cuts. The market is telling you we are in for a rough ride. Listen to it. Pinball out.